In 10 minutes, we will move back 100 years to the times of Sherlock Holmes, Titanic, Jacob and Evie Fry. When choosing a location for the project, I was guided by the fact that not just to convey the atmosphere of the epoch of the early 20th century, but to recreate the chosen street as accurately as possible in all the smallest details. Every pole, every flower bed should be in the right place. So first of all, I chose a city that I know well, so it was easier and unmistakable that I could find a large number of old photos of the chosen location. And the second criterion, the buildings of that time in the chosen location must be preserved to this day. This is so that in the end, it could be identified that it is not too different, but the same street, but in different eras. This is my hometown of Kharkiv, Ukraine. This is Andrei Gupsa. Enjoy the show. So I got rid of the trolleybus contact wires, removed even the shadows on the asphalt. Although later I will still completely change the road surface, but exclusively for you, my viewers, I decided to do everything smoothly and consistently, so that the changes would be consistent and logical, without violating the laws of nature. Continuing the barbarism, I got rid of the advertising sign and the restaurant sign. I removed the entrance, which was clearly not in the original design of the house. I also removed the glass building in the background, which of course was built in the 21st century. And the thermometer also had to be removed. By the way, for Kharkiv citizens, it is a significant place. Under the thermometer often appoint meetings for romantic dates. Many people do not know, but often houses of that era were gradually built up. So even such a complete work of art, it would seem, but this house was lower. "1910 is still a time when paving stones were paved, not asphalt. I moved 2 kilometers ahead to Liberty Square and borrowed the texture of the paving stones and moved them to our location. But not all was rosy at the time. I must admit that the paving stone of that time, and in particular on this street, was not as beautiful as the modern one, and I had to refine it. Some of the textures I borrowed from Lviv streets, as it is the motherland of various paving stone varieties. An interesting point, in one of the fragments of the location from that period, part of the street was completely redesigned. In the realization of this fragment, I decided to go for an experiment. I took an old photo with the closest possible angle. To be more precise, it is not a photo, but a postcard. At the time, they were hand-colored, and I placed this postcard on our modern photo, cut out all the excess, adjusted the size, and we got this interesting collage. From above, I started working out every detail. At the same time, you may have noticed that power line poles appeared on our location. At that time, they were made of wood. The light poles of that time and the poles that stand now are very similar in style. They're almost identical, but I have redrawn exactly as they were before. Then I filled in every centimeter of the location in detail, based on the real location of the objects of 1910. And smoothly moved on to one of the most important aspects of the image of every era and every city, transportation. Of course, the main engine of transportation of that time was animals, namely horses. The main mode of transportation in the first decades of the 20th century in Ukraine was still carriages, in spite of the fact that in the same London cars were already in full swing. A carriage could seat 2 people in the front and 2 in the back, just about the same as a modern passenger car. There were even horse-drawn buses back then, and they had double-decker buses. They were called omnibuses. But the most interesting thing, the first streetcars were also horse-drawn. And in Kharkiv, accordingly, the streetcar was just like that. It was called Konka at that time. One of these routes ran along this street. Just a few seconds left in the finals. I would like to ask you to support this young Ukrainian channel by liking and subscribing. And so worked on the details, adding winter atmosphere. I present to your attention a city that does not smell of gasoline, but smells of horses, A city where people are not drowning in smartphones, but drowning in newspapers. I present to you a city that thrives in 1910.